Ladies and gentlemen, this is proof that anything can happen on J. Rich Talks.
Super Show!
Oh, bunnies fly!
Oh yeah, look at all the bunnies! The shit is ass!
0 out of 10.
Trash! 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 Let me tell you about this offer with Raised Energy and J. Rich Talks, man. You see, you take the healthiest and the best energy drink in the world, brother, and you get 15% off. How do you do it? How do you do it? I'll tell you how you do it, brother. You take J. Rich Talk and you put it in the coupon code in the coupon section at the checkout, man. When you do that, then you can get the largest arms in the world, man. The largest pythons in the world, dude. So what you gonna do, brother, when J. Rich Talks and Raised Energy Drink run wild on you?
What is up, y'all? This is another episode of J. Rich Talks, and this is going to be the very first, not the ideal choice for an inaugural review of classic pay-per-views, but it's going to be the first of the retro pay-per-views, which is where I'm thinking the future of J. Rich Talks is going to lie. I'll give you a couple of my thoughts on it and why I say this. I got to tell you, when I was doing the weekly reviews of Raw and SmackDown or talking about the current pay-per-views, I just don't have fun. Honestly, it feels more like work to me than it does fun. And that's just not how I want to experience wrestling. I know that it may sound fucking bullshit or like a boomer or some shit like that for saying that I enjoy older wrestling better, but I just got to be honest with y'all, man. I love wrestling, but I don't like this wrestling. This is not wrestling. This is just not. And the old wrestling to me, even the shit that's just so bad, is just there's even something good in it that's better than what you get nowadays. And I am by no means saying that this pay-per-view is better than the current product. I'm saying there are things on this pay-per-view that are current than the better product. And I am not saying this is a good pay-per-view. It's anything but fucking far from it. Because today, we're going to be talking about WCW New Blood Rising. And I believe this was the pay-per-view that took the August time slot where they would have had fucking Road Wild or Hog Wild. And oh boy, this is one of the most infamous WCW pay-per-views because this is the one with the Judy Bagwell on a forklift match. Yeah, that one. There was also the Take Off All Your Clothes Mud match. The Canada Rules match. It is a complete shit show. But man, I had a fucking blast. I watched it twice for this review. I'm not gonna lie to you. I had a blast watching it. The second time around was a little tough. There was some things that was fun because I was watching my buddy Nate first, and I was watching it with Devin second. There was some things about it that's just, it's fun to get your friends' reaction, especially when it's just something that's so awful. But it was a blast. But no, so before we get in, let me go ahead and talk about what I was talking about. So the reason I say with these retro reviews, it doesn't feel like work to me. I feel like it's the most guilty thing in the world. I get to do my hobby and just sit here and talk about old wrestling, and I can just bury the show to shit, or I can have a fun time having a blast talking about it, and I just figured this is the way the show is going to go. We'll still cover the current pay-per-views. I will not watch, talk, or do anything with the current product when it comes to Raw and SmackDown. So to those that are going to come and watch my show for that, I'm sorry, you might want to look somewhere else. And also to those that, and I don't mean this in a bad way, I'm in a good mood. I just got done watching it literally like 30 minutes ago. I've actually been sitting here booking the rest of the few months, and we'll get into that at the end of the show. But because what's coming up, because I actually have a schedule now, which I've never been able to do before. But that's another thing I'm excited about. But no, just going through this shit, I had a fucking blast. I watched it twice, and but it just doesn't feel like work to me. And so every month on every Saturday, I'm going to cover. And honestly, I gotta say, it's some people may say this is a fucking rip off of the way Conrad Thompson does it. I think stealing is the best form of flattery. I think he has a great way the way he does it, and I'm not going to be doing exactly like him because I'm not going to be reading off the Observer, and I'm not going to be reading the fucking any build up. I may start watching, like actually watching the Raws and SmackDowns that lead up to these pay-per-views, but I will not be reading the Observer or the newsletter or any of that bullshit. I'm not reading no dirt sheets. I want my opinions, and that's what it's all about. And I may have co-hosts from time to time, but I think this show is going to truly live up to its moniker of J. Rich Talks. So, be that, take that as you will. But going back to what I was saying to people that get offended. So there's going to be some people that get mad. I know there's a lot of people that don't like watching shows where guys kind of shit on the current product, or guys talk bad about wrestling. You always get the same comments. Well, then why do you watch? Well, I don't want to be one of those. I don't want to watch. So I'm just not going to. I'll watch the pay-per-views and just to review for you guys. And I do get enjoyment sometimes out of the pay-per-views because that's when they actually decide to wrestle on a fucking wrestling show. Some of them actually sell moves on the pay-per-view. God, isn't that a fucking scary thought? You sell a fucking move. I hear you a fucking punch and you actually lay down and take it. Damn, who would have fucking thought? But, yeah. But it, that I know that some people don't like that, and they want to go and they want to listen to someone review the shows and say, I think it was a B+ show. I think this is good. Or they want to go and they want to listen to, because this is the latest fad, listen to fucking reviewers that are so fucking egregiously biased to either side, when, if we're being honest, both sides are complete shit. All right? If I'm not going to lie to you, if I had to choose between the two, and it is no bias. Because if y'all have not listened to my shows by now, you can kind of fucking tell. I don't like fucking WWE. So I'm not defending them. But I'd rather watch that shit than the outlaw mud show wrestling they got in AEW. And that is by no means, like if you listen to my AEW review, that is by no means shitting on some of the AEW product. Because there is some stuff on the AEW product that WWE wishes they could fucking have. And the reason they won't is because they can't let these guys do what the fuck they want to do when it comes to creative. But therein lies the problem with AEW. The guys that actually get it and know what wrestling is and know how to make a match and know how to sell a match, they excel. But 90% of the program is filled with these garbage SJW fucking trash motherfuckers that sit there fucking tweeting about how they need, this guy deserves a push, this and that. Jungle Boy is shit. The young fucks are shit. If you want to go and watch carnival monkey spots where niggas are just sitting there jumping off of ladders doing fucking 450 moonsaults on a fucking shit, go do it. Ask Devin, he'll tell you. No one wants to watch the young fucks do fucking... Why do you think they can't keep 1 million viewers? The only audience they have is the audience they have already built, and it's not growing. It's honestly, it's regressing. WWE's no fucking saint. Let me talk about them. They're fucking doing the same shit. They got the same audience that tunes in every fucking week. They continue to lose viewers too. Because their people like watching fucking garbage fucking wrestling also. In WWE, they sell moves a little more than AEW. And they don't do fucking mud show fucking outlaw indie shit. But they also have extremely scripted fucking bullshit that seems like it was written by a writer that hasn't seen pussy since he shot out of it. So, you either have to pick your poison. Corporate fucking propaganda garbage that fucking looks like shit, but at least it's shit that you can look at. Or AEW, where you got 2 matches out of 10 that are really fucking good, and the rest of the show is some of the worst thing to ever be on a show with the word wrestling on it. That's your choices in 2022. in my humble opinion. Now, AEW has been doing pretty good about trimming the fat and getting rid of a lot of these fucking outlaw indie mud show wrestlers that fucking have no business being on that fucking show. And I think it's funny how AEW fans, like, at first they'll sit there and be like, well, they were good. You're just a hater. You like old wrestling. You don't know anything about this new shit. And then those fans are now sitting there singing the tunes that they're gone. Yeah, those guys were shit. Blah, blah, because you guys are fucking marks. You don't give a fuck. You just listen to whatever your fucking side is. I understand. I hate WWE too. But I'm not going to sit here and defend the garbage on AEW. I'm not going to sit here and defend Joey fucking, like, what was this? Joey Ryan and his fucking dick druids and the dick suplex just because I fucking hate WWE. If you did that, stop watching wrestling. No, I don't care if it's subjective and it's opinion. Stop watching wrestling. You're the fucking problem. Get out. So anyway, on to the fucking review. And we're going to talk a little bit about how we got to this. I'm sorry, I know we went way off. We're going to talk about, because I just know I've been getting so much, I don't get it. It's not like I'm some big fucking show or anything, but there is an audience, and people do message me, and I get requests, and I get, I see things on Twitter, I see things on this and that, and it is baffling to me, the wrestling fans that are out there, and the shit they like. I'll give you guys an example. When I did the WrestleMania review, which to this day is part of the reason my podcast got to the way it is, I'm telling you, if to anyone out there that wants to start a wrestling podcast, wait until WrestleMania season. I started it on the pay-per-view before Fastlane. Wrestling fans are balls deep into WrestleMania season, and they will listen to any and all opinions, and they love it. The show did great during WrestleMania season, and that's when we got some really strong numbers. And I was talking to some guys on Reddit and, comparing my show, because I was trying to see how to, expand and grow the audience. I didn't know if I was doing something wrong, because my numbers for a little bit there were going kind of flat after WrestleMania. And I was like, well, is it just because like it was just WrestleMania season, or like what else? I'd have a couple shows that would spike, like the AEW and the SummerSlam, but I wasn't really retaining viewers. I was kind of doing what AEW does, where they have one big moment, everyone tunes in to see it, and then they just all peace out. And I didn't want to do that. So I was, talking to people on Reddit, and they were just shocked that I was able to pull the fucking numbers I was, for a fucking show that literally started inside of a month. We literally started the month of WrestleMania. Like the literally like 2 days before Fastlane is when this podcast started. Now, mind you, I'd started it the week prior, but I had to fucking pay for the Podbean subscription and then get the approval, which took like 48 hours for iTunes or whatever the fuck with Apple, and ship with Google and all that shit. It took a little bit, but literally all that shit was finalized and ready to go the day of fucking Fastlane. So that day, and then literally leading straight to WrestleMania, is when this podcast started. And it was the perfect time to start it. So anyone looking to grow a wrestling podcast, that's my recommendation to you. Do it around a giant event and just hope you can get that retention. But you have a really good chance, because I do have some guys that continue to listen, and I do love all my viewers out there, and listeners. I appreciate you guys. I'll say this: I still have the Raise advertisement in the beginning, but I'm not going to lie to y'all. To all those, if anyone has, because I actually have no way of knowing, if anyone has actually used the J Rich Talks code and Raise, I appreciate that and I thank you. But as of the moment, I know it's going to sound really dumb, but I actually lost my login because I did like the little Raise ambassador shit, and it's kind of like a pyramid scheme, but it's really not, because you do get money with it, but 90% of it is them just sending you emails, like trying to get you to buy Raise products. But you do get money from it, and it really would help out the show, which is why I was like, well, this could be kind of beneficial for both of us. I could talk about something that is athletic, because I do plan on talking about other sports as well. And football season this year, I promise you guys, I know last year I kind of let you down. I just couldn't figure out a format for it. I'll go over that some other time, but I'm just going to tell you right now, I had like 22 pages of notes for one football game. The season opener last year for the Buccaneers and Cowboys, 22 pages of notes? No. I couldn't do it. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this for every game. So, because I just don't feel right just talking about the main highlights. But I think it's just going to have to do it, But we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. I may literally just read through the box score and like talk about the games that I saw as I do it, and we just won't cover everything. But I'll feel kind of dirty about it, but it's whatever. But yeah, no. Anyway, kind of got lost there. Anyway, fuck it. We'll talk about this all some other time. I'll listen to it back and kind of go over what I missed out on telling you guys. It's late. As the time of this recording is 3:47, and I just never got around to recording this week. Couldn't make things out with my buddy Nate, and tried to get things working with Devin, and me and him sat down and watched the show, but put him to sleep, and so it. He was pretty tired afterwards. I don't blame him. That tag match takes a lot out of you. It kind of kills the pace of the show. But we'll go ahead and talk about it now. So, way we're gonna do it, we're gonna sit there and we're gonna fucking talk about the weeks prior sometimes. For this one, we're just gonna do the show, but just be on the lookout for those every Saturday, and we'll go over the schedule after this. Let's start. So this is WCW New Blood Rising. Let's go talk about a little bit about the year 2000, and we'll take a look into kind of what was going on leading up to this point. WCW at this point in 2000 was pretty much shit. They had lost any and all momentum in the year of 1999. They had changes in leadership all over the place. Eric Bischoff was sent home, fucking fired or whatever, and they had all this bullshit going on. So they had Kevin Nash take over booking. They hire Russo, I think midway maybe towards the end of the year. Oh, it was in September. Yeah. September of 99, they hire Russo to bring him in, and he's in charge of creative and booking, all that bullshit. Basically oversaw, Bischoff's role. And, oh my God. I mean, it turned into fucking Vince Russo Palooza. Like, if you've ever watched a Vince Russo produced show, you already know what I'm talking about. So, oh my God, it was so terrible. Like, you don't understand. Like, the things he was doing to that show from, everyone talks about the David Arquette, but I'm talking about think about what I just told you guys earlier in the beginning with these matches. Judy Bagwell on a forklift. Fucking mud show, take off all your clothes match. Like, this thing was complete shit. When it comes to, like, some of these ideas. And that's Vince Russo in a nutshell, because he thought Crash Course Television, like Jerry Springer, which most of you are probably too young to remember. Jerry Springer in the 90s is absolutely nothing like what it is now. Jerry Springer in the 90s, they'd have the most ratchet motherfuckers just openly brawling on fucking TV and, like, just the most disgusting individuals. It was so fucking stupid. They had Howard Stern, just the same thing. And that was what Vince Russo thought was entertainment and was hip. And honestly, credit to Vince Russo in 99, at least for WWE, for a good portion of it, it was. But he also had a filter. He had Vince McMahon to kind of shuffle out the extremely wild and absolutely ridiculous ideas and approve of the ideas that could work. And so, yeah, it truly shows when you see what he was able to do without that filter. And leading into this, I mean, God, there were so many guys that had fucked up shit going on. I mean, Goldberg had his contract negotiations, so it took him a little bit before he came back. And then when he did, his whole run was just all kinds of fucked up, leading into 2000, parts of 99, he had shit going on. I mean, Goldberg he was in a different plane. They had fucked his whole push up with the finger poke of doom and the fucking the whole Kevin Nash debacle at the Starrcade, but they were also fucking it up prior to that because he just wasn't getting over anymore when it came to like his matches. Like, he was still over, but his matches wasn't. I know that sounds crazy because like he was still a draw. He was by far one of the biggest stars in wrestling. I wouldn't say at that point he probably wasn't as popular as Austin, but it wasn't that, like, leading into the bottom half of 98, he still kind of was. But by the time they got to, Starrcade 98, I can see why Kevin Nash thought, like, okay. Because Kevin Nash was starting to get more over than Goldberg was. He just wasn't as big of a draw as Goldberg was just yet, because Goldberg was a big star. But I can see where he was going for, because Goldberg was getting the Goldberg sucks chance. People were kind of fed up with Goldberg shit. Because there was the wrestling purists out there that, and WCW, you got to give them credit for that. They truly got American wrestling fans into, like, Japanese style or, like, really good, just fucking traditional wrestling. Because we kind of got it with Bret Hart and, Canadian wrestling, where we took shit a lot more serious. But it really took fucking the signing of these cruiserweights from, Paul Heyman and ECW, and then them coming over to WCW as well. And to truly have Americans see all the different kind of styles that there is. Because leading up to that point, all you really had in American wrestling was like your Hulk Hogan's, your Coco Bewares, your fucking Duke the Dumpster Josies, your Hillbilly Jims, it wasn't really anything too crazy. In the territories, yes, but on a mainstream national level, it wasn't anything too crazy. And that's the thing. Although the territories, and Jim Cornette and a lot of those guys will argue that the territories were far more successful than what WWF and, like, mainstream wrestling would become on cable television, because technically, yes, they were watched more. They were seen by more people on television because they were seen on local TV within those regions. It just didn't have the mainstream wide, broad appeal. So when you talked about pro wrestling, if I were to show someone for example, if I were to show someone in California or New York a fucking Smoky Mountain Wrestling match, they're going to think it's the drizzling shits. They're going to think it's boring and all this and that. If I show someone in, the Smoky Mountain Wrestling region, like fucking Kentucky down there in the South, if I show them a WWF match, they're going to think that's the drizzling shits. And that's what I mean, where we hadn't really got to a point, I feel like, in wrestling where it was in that mainstream broad appeal where every demographic or region could find something they could like. It didn't mean they're going to like the whole show, but they had guys that they were either familiar with from their territories or guys that had been through their territories from other territories. Like Andre would go from all the different territories. And, they found someone they could root for, right? And it became mainstream. It became something you could watch on a wider spectrum. You could watch it on cable television anywhere. Or network television in the case of early WWF. But, like, that was what, or I guess technically broadcast, either way. It was fucking, that's what, put it over the top. And fucking, as it grew, though, people were so accustomed, because that was when everyone started watching wrestling. Because not everyone in Kentucky was watching fucking pro wrestling. Just the people in that region. So fucking, the wrestling fans in that region. Yeah, think. If they drew 2 million viewers on local Kentucky television, there's more than 2 million people that live in the state of Kentucky. So, you got to think about it in that basis, that fucking, well, maybe not, maybe at the top, I don't know, but you got to look at it like, I feel like with the mainstream success and wide appeal of where wrestling would go, that's where, wrestling got there. But like I was saying, they didn't really have, like, they had a couple guys they could root for, but for every, Andre or fucking, in the case of WWE, Bruno or some people like that, they could root for or take seriously. Minnesota, I'm sure they love the Sheik because of AWA, shit like that. But they also had these shit gimmicks that they don't care about. And that was what wrestling kind of was in the 80s, because it was reaching that broad demographic, especially the kids. So by the time it led into the 90s, those people have already grown up. Those wrestling fans are teenagers now. They don't give a shit about that shit. And so I feel like with that in mind, that was where WCW had found success at, and trying to take that more realistic approach, as same for ECW. But one thing they both found major success in, that I was talking about, is bringing these other styles of wrestling that people were not accustomed to seeing. They got to see guys from Stampede. They got to see guys from the different territories that wrestled a different style. They got to see guys from fucking Mexico. We finally got lucha style in the States on wide mainstream television. We had fucking Japanese wrestling, strong style, New Japan, All Japan wrestling on a mainstream fucking show across the entire fucking globe. And that is something that I feel like ECW and WCW should get major credit for because they were a big part, and WWE for that matter, because they brought in, Canadian, but WCW and fucking ECW were a big part as to why we as wrestling fans developed the love and passion that we do for, and we know what actual good wrestling looks like. And so it just, I feel like that's why the later part of 99, when they were looking at, or 80 or 98 rather, and they were looking at Goldberg, these fans by that point, I think since 96, they've been sitting there watching Ultimo Dragon. They've been watching fucking Psychosis, Eddie Guerrero, Benoit, fucking La Parka, Rey Mysterio. They've been watching these amazing guys. And they're like, damn, those fucking big dudes are fucking trash. You know what I mean? They're probably looking at fucking Goldberg and Hogan and everyone else like they just can't wrestle. And they, in some cases be right. And I feel like that's where Goldberg was losing steam. Was these guys were looking at Goldberg like, man, this guy's green as shit. It looks like shit. He doesn't do anything those guys do. But the thing is, though, that was the purist. The casual fan was still why Goldberg was such a huge star. Because most people don't give a fuck about all that. The big wrestling fans do, right? Goldberg, as a star at that time, was still big as shit. And I feel like that's where, 99, 98, he was starting to fall with some of those fans and the casual fans, because I feel like casual fans don't have an attention span to stay on one guy for very long. It's really bad nowadays. But with how fucking big the NWO was and how Kevin Nash was kind of soaring in popularity at the later part of 98, especially at the Whoop Pack and things like that, and Sting was soaring up there, DDP. There was a lot of guys coming up that people would have rather seen with the belt than Goldberg. And I feel like people were kind of done with the older guys, and I feel like people wanted Goldberg, out of the title picture for a bit. And so there was a contingency of fans that didn't like him. And sure, most of those are the purists, but there was some casuals that thought, okay, this is getting ridiculous. Luckily, that's the main majority of his fans were still casual fans that did like him. But I can see where Kevin Nash was going. I still feel like he catered to the wrong demographic, and his idea of using the NWO Elite as feeders for him, like they were all going to be the heels that would feud with him, is dumb. Because that really set in motion how we got to this show. You can't talk about 2000 WCW at all without talking about the fall of 99. 99, the failure and fall, the entire fall, rise and fall of WCW. That 99 it fell straight to the fucking ground. It fell so fast. From all the ridiculous Vince Russo bullshit to the mishandling of stars, the terrible booking decisions, the outright outrageous storylines, the pushing of old wrestlers that people are... they still had Roddy Piper wrestling on live television at that point. Hogan, Flair, in prominent roles in the main event, mind you. Not mid-card fucking or putting over main stars. Because that's the thing. When you have a star, the great stars in wrestling, it's not just fucking, people think everyone's got to fucking just, you have this guy job out and that's it. Or you can't have him beat him because he's too big of a star. That's how these guys got big, was stars beating other big stars. Austin and Rock became bigger stars from beating each other than beating fucking so-and-so and so-and-so. You had to build these guys up as stars and then have them beat each other. That's when fucking wrestling, that's how you get the big superstars that we do. That's how you get the big fucking global box office attractions and the Rock, Austin, Hogan, Flairs. That's how you get those. Having them beat these guys that they build up to be really big superstars and then pushing them. And so fucking Ric Flair's a little different because it was just him being around for so long and how fucking ridiculously popular his gimmick was. But in the case of Hogan, Rock, and Austin, the WWF success model for how they did shit was just building up really big stars or building up really big heels in the case of Hogan because of how easy it was in that time frame to get these guys over and fucking pushing them that way. And then it continued in the early 2000s. They built up Brock and Kurt Angle to be really big stars, and they had them put each other over. Both of them. And by that point, they became bigger stars because of it. Same for fucking Cena. He's wrestling guys like fucking, Brock and Taker, etc. Them putting them over is making them bigger stars. So when you have these legends guys, it's not that they shouldn't be going over these guys because they still have to win. Like when Edge won the Rumble and everything, people are like, well, we can't have him beat Roman Reigns. Yes, you can. He still needs to beat Roman to stay a star. If he just keeps losing to everyone, then when Roman beats him, it means nothing because who did he beat? He beat an old Edge? No, you have to show that old Edge is still a fucking competitor and a true star still. So that's one thing that is kind of frustrating with WWE nowadays and AEW, but it was something that WCW was falling kind of similar to also. They were mishandling the booking of these guys, and they were just beating everyone. They weren't fucking, putting over each other. They're too busy fucking burying the rest of the roster. Kevin Nash is over here wrestling with Mysterio because he's trying to make Mysterio. But in reality, all he was doing is, inadvertently maybe, was sucking all Mysterio's popularity off and putting it on him. Yeah, it gave Mysterio a new, fresh coat of paint, but at the same time, it ultimately what led to Mysterio losing a lot of steam and people falling out of interest. You can say that with a lot of guys at that time frame. So it's like, that's why when I hear people talk about burials, I get frustrated. Like I remember when Becky beat Bianca. Yeah, in the matter of which it happened, it was bullshit. But her beating her alone, because some people were like, well, she shouldn't be beating her at all. It was like last year at SummerSlam, right? That doesn't, you can't, like, that's the thing. They were telling a story too. Like whether they had that planned that it was going to be long-term storytelling or not, I don't know. But Becky losing to Bianca all the time, if Bianca just beats her like fucking a million times in a row, what's that say about Becky? That she's washed. Right? And you don't want your fans thinking that. You want her to think that she's still a big star. She has just as much of a chance to win. Otherwise, it starts to become predictable. It starts to become flat out, fucking flat, and no one cares about it. So that's where, in this particular case, WCW is starting to fall flat with a lot of these guys. You had your Ric Flairs and Hogan's wrestling. Like, I remember Hogan was wrestling Billy Kidman at one point. And yeah, you can make the case that he's trying to put over Kidman and get him over. But again, it doesn't mean anything if Hogan's losing to a jobber. So it's where you have to build these guys up. And then have them put each other over. And I just feel like they just didn't know how to do that anymore. And the guys that were booking these, and Eric Bischoff's talked about numerous times, the finishes were fucking terrible. So going into the show, by the time we get to 2000, the company is basically on its last legs. There, so many guys are pretty much gone by this point. Hogan's pieced out. Fucking Flair, I can't remember where the fuck he was at, but I know he was there. The TV show's gone completely south. The fucking production value's gone to complete shit. The arenas are struggling to sell out. Getting fucking 5,000 people to show up was a stretch. The Nitro was 3 hours. They still had Thunder. It was too much. But that was the mess they were in. And doesn't all this sound a little familiar? Yeah. So, yeah. We get into the show, and I think now I'll just kind of break it down, but you just got to kind of put yourself in the state of what WCW 2000 was in. It was a shell of its former self. We had a bunch of weird stables. We had the filthy animals, the Dark Carnival. They were trying some new stuff, and I'll give them that, but it was nothing that was ever going to work because it's Vince Russo booking. They had these old guys that were still there that were hands down the only people that they cared about. Like on the show, it was clear as day. Like people were more into the show when Nash and Goldberg and fucking Steiner were wrestling and fucking Booker T and Jarrett than most of the other matches. The only other match that got a lot of attention was the Lance Storm one, and that was just because of the fucking fact that it's Lance fucking Storm. I mean, hell, there was a big pop for DDP and it wasn't even him. But let's go ahead and break it down. So, start the show with 3 Count versus the Jung Dragons, which interesting with here is 3 Count consists of Shane Helms and Evan Courageous and fucking Shannon Moore. Shannon Moore, y'all would know from his brief stint in WWE here and there. I think he was like friends with the Hardys or whatever. He had his little brief stint in ECW, in fucking WWE, the WWE ECW, where he was like the fucking emo gothic fucking weirdo. Honestly, I just call it the school shooter gimmick. That's what he kind of looked like. He was always just backstage and he was acting really weird. That's what he ended up coming to. Shane Helms. I mean, come on now. Y'all know Shane Helms, the Hurricane, Gregory Helms, whatever. Big gimmick for him. He got a big push. And then Evan Courageous, I don't know too much about. I didn't see anything of him. I think he went to TNA maybe. He definitely didn't go to WWE. And if he did, he wasn't on main television. So. And then as for the Young Dragons, we had Kazuhira, whatever the fuck. I know he's a big wrestler in All Japan, but, I'm not too familiar with Japan. Devin would know more about him than I would. Buddy Devin of mine. You had Jamie Noble, who was wrestling as Jamie-san. And then good old Jimmy Wang Yang. Oh, what the some Wang? And they were the Young Dragons, and this was a 6-man ladder match. Accompanying 3 count, by the way, was Tank Abbott, who was a MMA fighter, also wrestler. And it was weird because they started the ladder match, guys were on the apron, which I thought was fucking weird. There was some chain wrestling, and then immediately, I think they just dawned in their head, what the fuck are we doing? Because then they started going and grabbing some ladders. Shannon Moore hit a backdrop on a ladder, or he took a backdrop on the ladder from Jimmy Wang Yang. I noted that one of them tried, I think it was Shannon Moore or someone, tried fucking pinning someone in the fucking ladder match. I forgot to note down who it was, but they tried doing a pin, which I thought was absolutely ridiculous. Big problem with this match was them trying to recognize what was going on. Like, the psychology was absolutely abysmal. Jamie Noble did a crossbody to the outside off the ladder. Just a bunch of spots here, big spot fest. There was a backbreaker from the top of the ladder. Tank Abbott, I noted at this point, it was kind of weird that he was just sitting there on the apron. I was like, this is technically no DQ. You can get in and help these guys. So it was just kind of weird. There's a double leg drop in the ladder, power slam spot on the ladder. They had the ladder teeter-tottering on the top rope, and they did the same thing with the Hardys that crushed Joey Mercury's face. It looked kind of dangerous there, just like it did later on. There's a diving body splash, leg drop. Just a bunch of fucking crazy spots here. At this point, it was a complete spot fest. But at one point, the 3 count, they grabbed the fucking the gold contract or the gold record, and I thought, okay, well then the match is over. But no, they actually had to grab both the contract and the record, because building up to this match, it's actually for a record deal, because this is this stupid fucking storyline, and they're like the Backstreet Boys or fucking something. It's fucking dumb, and. So I thought that was weird. They got the record but not the contract. They hit Tank with the ladder. There was a ladder sit-out power bomb or whatever, which is kind of cool. There was a nice spot but there. There was botchamania everywhere. Later on, there was a bunch of botch spots coming on right after that. Tank pushed both ladders or whatever, which I thought was fucking goofy because he pushed his own team's ladder. Then Evan Courageous climbed up, grabbed the contract, and Mark Madden compared the win to Elvis on the Ed Sullivan Show. He said, this is as big as for music as Elvis on the Ed Sullivan Show. And by the way, Mark Madden is fucking atrocious. I can't stand this motherfucker. I mean, I've listened to him a couple times before. Namely, actually, back when I was younger, I had this Goldberg DVD they released. I think maybe about the time I was in high school, and it was kind of nostalgic for me because I was a big Goldberg fan when I was a kid, so getting to go back and watch some of this stuff. And I'd never seen a lot of Goldberg's 2000 stuff, so I was watching that, and oh my god, like Mark Madden, it's just so fucking annoying. But anyway, then we had the next match, or we had a backstage segment where the Filthy Animals went backstage, talked to Ernest Miller. And they were talking about their plan and everything. They're going to be the referees and shit. And then that led into the Great Muta versus Ernest Miller. And my God, Muta looked like shit at this point. I mean, he was a shell of his former self. Ernest Miller, too. Like, if you look at Ernest Miller in 96 or 97 and then watch this shit, like, you're like, what the fuck? This is not even the same guy. They can still kind of go, and it was okay. I kind of called it the Etsy.com strong style match. Devin called it the wrong style match. But yeah, it was kind of traditional heel versus whatever spot. Muta was doing some nice like MMA moves though that I appreciated. It started with some 10 punches in the corner by Ernest Miller. Nice elbow drop. Muta hit some kicks. There was a snapmare, and then he elbowed him. Muta had a full Nelson arm wrench. He put on a Kimura, an arm bar. He's choking him with his foot. Muta's heel because he's in the dark carnival, which is this horrible gimmick. And then Ernest came back with some comeback. He got his babyface comeback, started landing some kicks. But then Muta shut it down, kicked him down. Starts landing some kicks. Tigress came out at this point. Muta missed a cartwheel kick, and then Ernest hit him with a side kick that sent Muta to the outside. Started choking Muta with the cable, which I thought was not kind of grounds for disqualification, but whatever. A couple of times that happened tonight. He hit a super kick that looked really bad, and then an uppercut. Muta caught the kick into a dragon screw, and then he put him into a heel hook, which was nice. He went for a backbreaker, but it was kind of botched. Didn't look too great. He missed the moonsault. He then sprayed him with the green mist, which also hit the referee, and allowed Tigress to hit Muta with the diving chair shot, which looked kind of shitty, but it was whatever. That led to a false finish. So you're thinking, okay, this could be, then maybe they're going to pick it up here. No, that was leading to the finish, because then Ernest just started hitting a flurry. He hit an axe kick, and then like a fucking screw kick, or whatever you want to call it. Spinning side kick, and that was it. Ernest Miller got the win, and that was all she wrote for that. Not the greatest match, kind of felt like a Nitro match. Muta was well past his prime here. Same for Ernest Miller. I guess it's nice to see him, but I don't know if I'd put that on pay-per-view. But they definitely had their moments. Ernest Miller definitely was more of the standout in this match than Muta. He was connecting with the fans. He was kind of cutting a nice promo. I know you kind of made me laugh. He was like, you may think you the great Muta, but tonight I'm going to beat your gray ass, or great ass, or whatever. It was like, what the fuck? So, but it was pretty cool. Nothing too offensive, but it could have been better and just felt like a Nitro match. Then we go backstage, and Buff Bagwell's looking for his mom. Mark Madden was annoying the shit out of me, talking about he's looking for his mommy. Anyway, that led us into the Judy Bagwell on a forklift match. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, this was the best match on the card. As bad as the fucking shit may have seemed, it was the best match on the card. He comes out driving her on a forklift. I'm like, this is fucking awful. He cuts this promo. It just sounded like he was trying to be DDP because he couldn't get over on his own. Devin brought to my attention he used to wrestle as Mortis, and he was just fucking terrible as Mortis. It was so fucking bad. He did the whole spiel that he looked all over Canada for a pole that would be able to hold her fat ass, but he couldn't, so that's why it's a forklift. They'd advertise it as Judy Bagwell on a pole, but whatever. It's so fucking dumb. Buff comes out. They start brawling in the crowd. He opens it up with a nice back body drop, hits a spinning neck breaker, which I love how Tony Schiavone, he kind of reminded me of Joey Styles. Whenever there'd be a move like that, he'd say it with such passion. He'd be like, spinning neck breaker. I love that shit. Like, call the move. Show some passion, That's what I loved about that shit. Jim Ross didn't do that as much, but he at least got the passion part of it right. He got you into the story. But these guys at least made you appreciate the moves, too. Canyon hit a suplex. He removed the turnbuckle. They had hit like it was like a reverse Russian leg sweep from the top rope. And kind of both sold the severity of the move, and then he went for a pin, and it was a 2 count. Holy shit! At least some people actually sold some shit. Then Canyon hit a sit out Alabama fucking slam fucking sit out power bomb. It looked fucking nice. Nice fucking move. Almost could have been a finisher for a false finish. So Canyon's kind of getting the better hand of Buff here. Buff Bagwell starts to get his babyface comeback. He's hitting some clotheslines and shit. But you get cut off and then get put in the Cobra Clutch. And then he'd hit Buff with the neck breaker for a 2 count. And then but Buff would hit him with the flapjack to the exposed turnbuckle. Then he would hit Buff Bagwell with the diamond cutter for a 2 count. David Arquette would then come out and hit Buff Bagwell with the hard hat, which is the stupidest shit. The crowd actually popped because they thought it was going to be DDP, and then they started booing when they saw David Arquette. But anyway, then Buff makes his babyface comeback, starts hitting some clotheslines. Hits them both with a double clothesline after ducking them or whatever. And then finishes the match with the double blockbuster, which loved the blockbuster. And I loved that it actually, was a finish and not just some random move because it looks impactful. And, it for a Nitro match or like a fucking, I guess I wouldn't call it a terrible pay-per-view match if it was like the opener. But for a, marquee match on a pay-per-view, I just thought it was kind of flat, but it wasn't terrible. It was sadly the best match on the card, at least in-ring work-wise, I think, or at least without any fuckery. And the forklift shit was just kind of just on the outside. It didn't really mean anything, played nothing into the match itself. But yeah, after that, he got his mom off the forklift, walked off, and then fucking Canyon hit a canyon cutter, to David Arquette. Crowd popped, and that was it. So not the terrible, at least it's like, okay, we had a spot fest, we have this match, pay-per-view starting off like okay. It's a little fucking ridiculous. The commentator's annoying, and it's a little diabolical with this booking, because already we've started off with a fucking gold record and contract fucking music deal match on a ladder match, and then we start off with Judy Bagwell on a fucking forklift. But yeah, it's getting a little dubious, but whatever. We then cut backstage, and fucking Jeff Jarrett's conducting an interview. He's talking about fucking slap ass Oakland or whatever the fuck. It's so fucking stupid. But Jeff Jarrett cut a decent promo, and he was just kind of hyping the main event. We then cut and back to ringside. Now comes fucking Shane Douglas. God damn, was he underutilized. Could have been so fucking much more. By this point in his career, he was kind of just, he'd been all over the place at this point. No one knew how to use him, and he was getting older, and he's probably pilled up and just fucked up. But God, he was so fucking good in ECW, man. Sucks to see how they fucking WWE handled him, and then how WCW would ultimately handle him, but he's involved in this really shitty storyline with Billy Kidman with like a fucking sex tape and Tori Wilson, whatever. And they're going to have a strap match. This isn't a traditional strap match where they touch the 4 corners. They're literally just attached to a strap. So I didn't bother taking too many fucking bullshit. Like, this was just really dumb. Wrote some things that I noted. There's a clothesline to the outside. Shane Douglas started choking Billy Kidman. Kidman made a comeback. I just noted this is shit. No more notes. And then at the end of it, to tip off the shit turd that it was, they mimicked hanging Billy Kidman alive. Yeah. Looks good. So then we go backstage again, and Jeff Jarrett assaults Booker T in the, I believe it would have been like where he arrived at the show, the parking lot or something like that, comes out of his car. I thought the thing that was really fucking dumb is that, this is where Bruce Pritchard gets some credit, honestly, I feel like, is like, or guys that are producers in general, like Jim Cornette, a couple guys, like, because even in TNA, it didn't look this bad. When you're shooting your world champion, WCW champion, coming to the fucking arena, do you really want it to look like the background is like someone's backyard? And then, like, he's showing up in, like, a town car, which is fine. It was not, like, the most fancy car, but whatever. But he's also driving. He doesn't have a driver or anything. You just saw prior to that, Lance Storm showing up in the arena. I forgot to mention that was a backstage thing. Lance Storm shows up in like a fucking limo with like fucking the Canadian fucking like police and shit in the flat. He shows up, and you're like, what the fuck? But Booker T showing up in his little car that he drove himself. And behind Booker T's car, like literally clear as day in the frame, is a fucking RV like bus or whatever. You tell me the world champion can't afford a bus? Like, at least make it look like, you know what I mean? Like, it just looks so fucking cheap. It also was filmed during the day, because I don't think they did it live. But you can't be sure. I'm sure it was pre-taped, but it just looked like shit. Like, they really should have did it better, but... anyway, attacked him, and so Booker's knee or leg is fucked. We then get into the mud take off all your clothes match. And I haven't bothered taking notes for this. I can tell you a couple spots. I mean, you know, Stacy Keibler just did a lot of things where she was doing the jumping splits or fucking doing a bunch of shit. But it was between Miss Hancock and Major Guns. Kind of jumped the gun there. Major Guns, not too familiar with her. Don't know if she did anything post after this. Pretty sure she was a Nitro Girl or a $2 stripper before this event. Just big chick with the fake fucking implants. Nice little butt, I guess. Not anything terrible. Decent legs. Fucking, but nothing overly crazy. Just looked like a fucking stripper, because that's kind of how they treated the women back then. And the Miss Hancock, Stacy Keibler, she's obviously fine her in the $2 steak. But saying that she's fine in a $2 steak ain't nothing, because right now they didn't know what the fuck to do with her. She's coming out and she's got this stupid fucking gimmick. And it's a stupid fucking match. And they're both wearing camouflage, and I don't understand any of this shit. There's like a war theme, like barbed wire around the mud pit. And like grass, it looks like they're like in Vietnam or some shit. It looks so fucking dumb. And like fucking, they're wrestling or whatever. And I guess the rule set, the way it explained it, you had to take off all their clothes, throw in the mud pit, and then the match can only be won in the mud pit after all that has been done. But yet they're going for pinfalls in the ring. So if they wrestle in the ring and they go for a pinfall and they win, then what about the mud pit? Do they just not go in the mud pit? Like, I just thought that was kind of fucking dumb. So both ladies strip each other. It's traditional TNA, whatever. We'd already seen a bit of that, because I forgot to mention in the Tori Wilson match, after the end of it, he was using the strap to whip her ass or whatever. Billy Kidman was getting his revenge. So, whatever. It was dumb, garbage bullshit. At one point in the match, Stacy went for like a diving, like, splash. Like, not like from the top rope, but like just hitting the ropes and then fucking going for a diving splash on the floor. Or on the ring canvas rather, and to a grounded Major Guns, and she missed and smacked the ring or whatever on her stomach, and then she started selling her stomach, or mainly her uterus, implying that she was like she had a baby or something. Like, you could easily tell what they were going for before, and I didn't even know the storyline until I actually had to look it up afterwards. This was setting up a whole pregnancy storyline with David Flair. That ultimately was supposed to be, they were going to reveal that Eric Bischoff or Ric Flair, they hadn't chose who yet, but they were going to reveal one of those two to be the father. And thank God that got canned. But, yeah, so that's where this ultimately led to, and it was shit. I mean, what do you expect? But, yeah, so that was that. And basically went over to the mud pit, to continue taking each other's clothes off, and fucking... Stacy's like getting the upper hand on the Major Guns, but then she starts selling her stomach out of nowhere, and then she gets pushed over, roll up, boom. David Flair rushes out, and they take Stacy out in an ambulance, which is another thing to note. I thought if you're really wanting to sell that something serious is going on, why would you shoot her going into the ambulance? Why would you shoot her holding her stomach there when they bring all the EMTs there? I would show the EMTs showing up and then cut to the fucking crowd. I wouldn't even, honestly, if you could, avoid the EMTs to avoid that too, but I would cut to the crowd to make it look like, oh God, there's seriously something going on here. Because then the live audience that's watching on the Titantron, they're like, what the fuck? And then the fucking commentators, they could sell it like, oh yeah, there's something seriously fucked up here. And don't show her getting wheeled into the ambulance, because then people are going to know it's part of the storyline. Like, yeah, I get that they wanted the shot of David Flair, like, nurturing her. But, like, holy shit, you already really got that, because he ran down after the match ended to, like, nurture her, and then the paramedic showed up. Right then, I would have just cut it and, like, put a crowd shot on the screen. and then maybe cut to the commentators, and I wouldn't have shown shit for the next like 2 minutes and just stayed on them and then had the next match come out. So that way the people at home and the people in the arena that are watching the Jumbotron too, they're like, damn, like something really fucked up happened. You know what I mean? Like that, I just feel like they kind of missed the ball on that one. That's something that wrestling has a really big problem with. They show everything, and that's why people think it's outrageously fake. But then the next match, or we had a backstage interview rather with the Dark Carnival. God, it's so shit. And we had the Demon, who looks like Gene Simmons, because I'm sure it was part of TNT's partnership with Kiss at the time. Or they had a bunch of commercials, and I think they were talking about doing a WCW show or like a Road Wild or something. Just a whole bunch of shit with Kiss. In fact, I'm pretty sure they were using Kiss as the Demon's music. And God, this is fucking trash. Anyway, they're sitting there talking about how he's got to prove that he's the Demon or whatever and go out there and beat Sting. It's like, okay, whatever, at least I get to see Sting. Did I really, though? Because then the Demon comes out, has his little stupid entrance. Sting comes out from the Raptors, which he's already publicly stated he didn't like doing after Owen died. And he didn't do it for a while, but then, he did it on this one and a couple other shows, and he was upset about it. And he comes out and squashes him in under like 10, 20 seconds. As soon as the bell rang. He hit him a couple times on the outside of the ring, so technically, like, if you Google it, it'll say it's like 30, 50 seconds long, but it was really like 20, 10, 20. Got him in the ring, punched him a couple times, and then Stinger Splash, Scorpion Death Drop, finish. They then come out, the Dark Carnival comes out, Muda and Vampiro. Vampiro's the leader of the Dark Carnival. Muda, Vampiro, and the Demon, and they're fucking beating the shit out of fucking Sting, and then they try to hang him with the fucking harness or cable or whatever, which was so fucking dumb! But anyway, after attempting another hanging on this show, Chronic comes out to stop it. They get in the ring, they cut a promo, talking about they're going to wrestle the Dark Carnival or beat their ass. Don't even think they said they were going to wrestle them that night. I don't know where the fuck that match got made. I can't remember if they mentioned on commentary, but that would be set up for later tonight. And that was the end of that segment. And oh my god, I'm so glad it ended as fast as it did. Fuck that stupid shit. But then we went backstage, and Booker T was hurt, and he told him, "Get that camera out of here, man." So his knees fucked up. They're icing it. They're trying to put a strap or whatever on it. We then cut back to the ring, and it's now Mike Awesome and Lance Storm. Mike Awesome comes out. Canadian fans ain't having shit to do with them. U.S. fans ain't having shit to do with them either, because this is when he walked out of ECW. And so he had a lot of heat everywhere he went. No one liked him. It was kind of end of his career, too, because of that. Because the way he handled business, he wouldn't get a chance at WWE. And Lance Storm, he looked like $1 million here. Comes out, I'm thinking they're booking him like fucking Canadian Ultimo Dragon. And they kind of were. But, because he had all the belts and shit, but he was still like a chicken shit heel. And you wouldn't know that until the match actually begins, because he comes out and before they actually wrestle, they do the Canadian National Anthem, and he brings out like a old Stampede Wrestling, John Von Joe or some bullshit like that. And they just have all this bullshit happen or whatever, and he's the special referee by Rule B22 or some bullshit. And anyway, so it's whatever. It's cheap little heel heat, and the Canadian fans are loving every last second of it, like he's the second coming of their fucking savior. And we lead into the match. And I said, all right, I'm just going to enjoy this. So I'm not going to take too many notes. And at first I was really enjoying it. The matches was starting off really nice. There was some nice face busters, nice sit-out powerbomb by Mike Awesome. Oh my god, I mean, there's so many really cool spots here. And he ended up winning with that. But then it was revealed with the sit-out powerbomb. It was like a pop-up sit-up powerbomb. And but then it was revealed that it had to be a 5 count, because by the Canadian rulebook, has to be a 5 count. So, all right, even though he just beat him once, now he's got to beat him again. So then, he beats him again, and with a body splash, and you think, okay, it's over. And no, it's not over. So now he has to fucking, can't win with he can only win by submission. Some bullshit like that. And then he wins with the Dragon Sleeper. Like, he makes him tap out. And then fucking now the only way to win is for the person to not reach the count of 10 or whatever, like last man standing. And then fucking he was going to get fucking Lance Storm was about to, get hit with the last man, whatever the fuck. And Mike Awesome hit a Northern Lights suplex. He had a release German, springboard shoulder, diving splash. And fucking Mike Awesome fucking he must get up by the count 10 or whatever now. And he does. But now fucking Lance Storm or whatever is revealed that if both guys go down, then the first person to get up after the count of 10 wins. So fucking they go to the outside. Lance Storm hits him with the chair. Mike fucking Awesome gets up by the count of 10, but fucking the John Vajo or whatever the fuck hits him with the goddamn fucking punch or whatever. Ref didn't see it, the other ref anyway, and Lance Storm wins. So Mike Awesome beat Lance Storm 3 times, made him tap and pinned him twice. Once for a 3 count, once for a 5 count, but Lance Storm wins because some stupid. It looked terrible. And Mark Madden, I noted that he was wigging out on commentary. It was fucking annoying. But then Bret Hart comes out, and the crowd goes fucking banana. They go batshit. And you're like, okay, this is kind of cool. And Bret Hart comes out, and you're like, okay, he's going to hate that this Canadian didn't wrestle with honor or some shit, right? No, because then he just goes there and hugs him. So whatever, his cheap little spot there, kind of cool, whatever. And that was the end of that. So then we have a Kevin Nash interview. He's talking about Goldberg's a no-show because of the motorcycle incident. But he don't give a shit because he's just there for the money and the title, so that's what he's going to go do. Well, then we're treated to the Dark Carnival versus the Chronic. It's the tag title match. It was a spinning heel kick by fucking Vampiro. Wrath hit a shoulder thrust. Not much going to be said with this match. It was pretty fucking terrible. Powerbomb. Muda tagged in. Shitty strikes. Bryan Adams hit his full Nelson slam that looked pretty good. It was a power slam by Adams. Imperial strikes, tags in Muda again. Fucking they're working over Bryan Adams. Setting up the hot tag fucking Brian Clark, who I note as Wrath all the time because that's what I know him as. He slipped like a drop kick to the leg that looked like shit. Muda hit like he sprayed the mist in the ref's face. And then Wrath hit a back suplex pump handle slam. And the Dark Carnival wins after the Harris brothers come out from the crowd and attack the Vampiro and fucking Muda, the Dark Carnival. So yeah, not too much there. Just shitty fucking Dark Carnival. The Harris brothers, whatever, and then fucking goddamn Chronic. So whatever. Crowd seemed to slightly enjoy Chronic, I guess. So whatever, but not too much out of that match that I give a shit about. Then we had a Booker T promo. He's talking about he doesn't matter. He's going to whoop his ass. So, yeah, I've already heard it once, heard it twice. Booker T was still great though. He's starting to get his come up here. He's starting to become a star. So anyway, this is the Nash Goldberg Steiner match. This is a big featured match on the card besides the main event. And there was no Goldberg. Didn't show up in his entrance. And so Nash and Steiner are brawling. Was hitting each other big moves. And then they worked their way to the outside fighting against the barricade. And then Goldberg just shows up out of nowhere with the steel chair. And he's taped up for the motorcycle accident. And he just smacks into the chair. I stopped taking notes midway through this because this shit was just going fucking crazy. Because it was just spot fest galore. Goldberg wrestled maybe like 3 or 5 minutes. Match itself was only like 8 minutes. Or fucking 10 minutes, something like that. But then Nash is about to set up a jackknife powerbomb. And Goldberg just pushes him off and walks away. And Nash's like, what the fuck, man? And then fucking Vince Russo comes out and he's like, hey, go back in there and finish. And then Goldberg was like, fuck you. And the way it looked is that Goldberg just walked out because he didn't want to wrestle anymore. But the other thing it really looked like, and I'm pretty sure this is the storyline they were going with, if my memory serves me correct from doing a little research and looking into this, they were kind of playing off of the whole thing they just did at Bash on the Beach, where wrestlers are like blurring the lines between reality backstage with backstage politics and fucking this shit. They did with Hogan with the whole Bash at the Beach, fucking this company is trash, this is why. Where he like puts his foot on fucking Jeff Jarrett and like wins the belt, and he's like, this company's going to the shits. And then fucking Vince Russo comes out and says, this bald bitch will never fucking, bald-headed fucker or whatever the fuck, will never fucking wrestle in this company again. Fucking he didn't want to do the job or whatever the fuck. So like it's telling everyone this shit's fake as fuck. And this one, it looked like Goldberg just didn't want to do the spot and lose, so he just walked out. And it's what Vince Russo was confronting him about. And so that was fucking dumb. So whatever. Scott Steiner was standing out during the match. He looked really nice. Looked like a freak. Madesha low-blowed Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash or Steiner got a 2 count. The shitty DDT by Nash. It wasn't really his fault. It's just his height. Shouldn't be doing that move anyway. Madesha fucking broke up the pin, which was weird. Because, like, at this point, she just keeps getting involved, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Ref's not doing anything. Steiner hit a rear naked choke. Because he's, like, on the top turnbuckle and Nash on his back. Nash is able to shake him off, hit the power bomb, and win. And now he's the #1 contender. Not much to say out of that. It was a shit show, and it was sad because it was like one of the big featured matches on that show. But whatever. And then we're at the main event, and I got to tell you, this one, I was kind of, at this point in the show, you're not looking too forward to it. But, it's whatever, it could be all right. And it was decent effort, but it was just botched, bogged down by some of the botches and some of the bullshit that went into it, and it could have been way better. It really could have. The latter half of it was where it kind of picked up, but it's pretty much the same match they had at the Bash, except they work over Booker having this injured leg. I pretty much started taking my notes after the guitar shot spot, because at that point the match was nothing special, and I was getting kind of frustrated, but then it started to pick up. So guitar shot to the leg after the spinning Rooney took out the ref, because he caught him with his foot. He hit him with the guitar shot, injured the leg. I like that. Put him in the figure 4. Booker T's really selling like his leg is fucked. Jeff holds on to the submission for the 4 to 5 seconds after he hits the ropes. That was nice. Jeff hits the ref with the belt outside because Booker ducked. And then Booker starts making his comeback. Booker sets up a table, and then he does a bookend to send Jeff through the table, which is cool. It could have looked better if they did it on the front side of the ring, like from the side where the stage is at, because then they could have put the table further out, and Jeff could have jumped up higher for the thing, because otherwise it just kind of looked like a Uranagi, but it's fine. There was another ref bump with the chair, because Jeff had a chair, and he was like by the ropes, and he like swung it up and hit the ref. Then he hit a STO or reverse STO or something like that on Booker T to the chair. We get fucking Little Nate. He comes out and to get the cover, 2 count. It's swinging neck breaker on the chair for a 2 count. He goes for a double axe handle, but is caught, and he's desperately trying to fight out of it, and he elbows him off, but he spins around, and Booker T reverses the Irish whip into another bookend to seal the fate and win the match. Finish and everything, the last fucking 2 minutes were not bad. Like, if it was in a better match, and they were given more time, and it wasn't on such a shit show, but, it ultimately just kind of showed the problem with New Blood Rising. But, yeah, it is what it is. It's not the greatest show, but I had a lot of fun watching it just because I love this old wrestling, man. It was nostalgic seeing this shit, and, I highly recommend you guys, if you want to check out just to see what the shit show the WCW 2000 was, this is the embodiment of it. So it doesn't get any more, 2000s WCW than this. And speaking of 2000s, let's go ahead and touch on what you guys have forward to look to. God, I said that backwards. What you have to look forward to in the upcoming episodes of Jay Rich Talks. So, next week, on the 20th, next Saturday at noon, as always, every Saturday, I'm going to be reviewing SummerSlam from 2006. And what you can expect to hear on that is about the Hogan-Randy Orton match, the Batista-King Booker match, the Cena-Edge match. That'll be the 16th anniversary of that show. We're going to take a closer look into it and see, what's really, if there's anything decent on that show to watch. I have fond memories of it. I used to watch it a lot when I had the DVD as a kid. I had a lot of wrestling DVDs, and that was one of my favorite ones because I loved the card. I just thought it was stacked. Just didn't like how all the heels went over. I should call it Summer Heel. I think there's only one face that wins. Technically, there's two, but I mean, come on, he's clear as a heel. So, but we'll get into that one, and then on the 27th, we're going to be taking a look at SummerSlam 2000, and then I'm going to break tradition, and we're actually going to be reviewing Clash at the Castle. Yes, it's on that Saturday, but I can't. It's on the 3rd, September 3rd. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm actually going to review either that one. I'm still trying to decide. I'll let you guys know when we get to probably the 2000 SummerSlam. Which, by the way, with that one, you have to look forward to. You can look forward to hearing my thoughts on The Rock and Kurt Angle, Triple H. If you just listen to Logan Paul have Triple H on his podcast, they were just talking about that match. And now Kurt Angle had the concussion midway through the match. But it was a really good. It's 2000s WWE. It was a nice TLC match with the Dudleys and Hardys and Edge and Christian and some other shit on there, but outside of that, the rest of the show is kind of forgettable. The Undertaker Kane led to like a no contest or whatever. There's some other shit on there, but I think there was like a match with the cat in there. It was like a stink face match or something, but it's gonna be fun. I like 2000s fucking WWE, so it'll be fun. When we get into, but yeah, so that's that one. But yeah, no, so Clash at the Castle. Since it falls literally on the day and I don't want to do that live and release it late at night, I may do it the day after or on that Tuesday. I'll let you guys know, but it will not be on that Saturday. So, yeah, I'll let you guys know when we get there, but it's most likely going to be on Tuesday, if I'm going to be honest, because I'm probably going to film it on Sunday, the review, after watching it, because I don't want to stay up all night doing that, again, like I just did this, because we kind of got really close to the wire in this one. And then when we get Clash at the Castle done, then moving into October on the 8th, we're going to be doing No Mercy 2006. And that may be subject to change because I may cover Extreme Rules. But I haven't decided yet. But that's for October 8th. My bad. I completely forgot. I thought we're still in September. So for September, we have September 3rd. And then the 10th, that one's going to be a little different because I couldn't find a single pay-per-view for ECW, WCW, or WWE that fell on September 10th. So for that one, I'm kind of excited for this. We're going to be reviewing the September 10th of 2007 episode of Raw, which is the go-home show for Unforgiven 2007. And you might be like, well, what's so special about this show? Well, this is the show where Vince McMahon, it is revealed who his illegitimate child is. And I cannot wait to take a giant fucking dump on that show and fucking laugh hysterically at the fucking garbage storyline that was the illegitimate child shit. I just cannot wait to watch that shit. It's going to be fun. And then on the 17th of September, you can look forward to, I believe that one is going to be, is that one, yeah, it's Unforgiven of 2006. And then September of 24th of the next month, you can look forward. That one's going to be fucking Unforgiven 2000. All these shows are on the anniversaries they come out. So fucking with Unforgiven 2006, that's the one with DX versus the McMahons and Big Show and Hell in a Cell. The Cena Edge TLC match. The one where it's a show where Carlito and Randy Orton had an amazing RKO spot. Kane Umaga wrestled. That was Trish Stratus's retirement match. There's some decent shit on there. So we'll take a look at that one. And then for Unforgiven 2000, couple things on there. You know, Triple H, Kurt Angle, love triangle storyline that led into a match with them. You had like, what's that? Benoit and Jericho in the 2 out of 3 Falls. I can't remember. Might have been the next show. But it was, because then the main event was The Rock, Jericho, fucking Taker, someone else. Fatal 4-Way for the belt. And then fucking... I'm trying to remember what's on that show. No, that's the show where Austin came back and beat the shit out of Rikishi. So that was pretty fun. Or I think he beat the shit out of Triple H. I can't remember. I know because he had the match with Rikishi at that No Mercy, which we will be covering that one too. And I can't wait for that one. It's a really good show. But that'll be in October because like No Mercy 2006 will be on the 8th. And then on the 15th of October, we'll be talking about WWE Extreme Rules from 2022. And then on fucking the 22nd will be No Mercy from 2000. And then on the 29th, we'll still figure that out. I haven't got that booked yet. We'll see if it's going to be like a Raw or SmackDown or something. Maybe there's a pay-per-view that fell on that date. I'm kind of hoping that there's a WCW one, like one of the Halloween Havocs, especially if it's the fucking Halloween Havoc that happened in 95, because that pay-per-view is fucking trash. So that would be fun as shit. But anyway, that's it for this one, guys. I'll see you guys next week on the on the 20th, and we'll be talking about SummerSlam 06. I can't wait. Hopefully you guys like this new direction the show's going. Sorry this one probably wasn't as detailed or crazy as it. I don't have much nostalgia with the show. Ones that I have more nostalgia with, I'm sure will be far better. And if I have co-host on that can tell their reactions, I'm sure it'll be better. For this one, just kind of me rambling, I know it's not the greatest thing for you to do in a podcast, but hopefully people can get enjoyment out of this. This show was not the greatest. The matches were forgettable, and to be honest, it was kind of shit, but it was fun to watch. So I will see you guys next week on Saturday.
Super Show!
Oh, bunnies fly!
Oh yeah, look at all the bunnies! The shit is
0 out of 10.
Trash!